exactly. I just told them about that last week. I'm like, you guys, like at some point, because they're level 8s and they're 9s and they're starting to go like, oh, this is like what real gymnastics
It's starting to get
like.
a little scary.
It's getting scary.
Yeah.
They're getting scared. And I'm like, girls, you're totally justified to be scared. This is scary. It is not easy. It's very scary. So I said, but you guys got to let us push you. And, you know, it's just like for all of you that have siblings or you all learn to walk. Like if every parent who taught their kid how to walk saw them fall one time and just said, forget it, I'm just going to hold them, that kid will never walk. Yeah. You've got to let the kid fall a few times. You got to let them get a bump and a bruise. They're going to be okay.
So I have this lecture that I give my athletes, especially the older ones, so like my 9s and 10s. There's a big difference between failure and defeat. And failure, run it up. Fail as many times as possible. Yep. Just go. Fail. If it's 100 times to fail for one good one, do it. Fail as much as possible. Failure shouldn't be stigmatized. Defeat is a completely different emotion. If you feel like you failed, then okay, you get up, we try again, right? Defeat means that all of a sudden now you feel worthless, right? And it's a very like keen distinction, but I try to make it as like loud as possible. I'm like, I'm never gonna be upset if you fail. Right. So long as you get back up, we'll try again, ask me a question, I'll give you a correction, which, well, you know, it might be a funky day, it might be a multitude of different things, especially for these higher skills that take weeks, months, years to learn sometimes.
Every kid does it differently.
Yeah. But if you come in here and you're like, man, I feel like I failed today, I'm going to try again tomorrow, I'm okay with that. You're never going to get a bad response out of me. Right. But if all of a sudden I start to see you defeated, and I start to see that your ambition's gone, your drive is gone, that your self-worth is starting to become affected by your time in the gym, now we're in a bad territory. Yeah, that's when a whole different conversation has to be had. Now we don't even have to talk about gymnastics. Exactly. Now we have to talk about something completely different. Right, yeah. Now I go back to my original goal. What's the goal? Right. What's the goal? Because I know the goal is not for you to feel like this. Yeah, and I think that's a huge thing too, and it makes me happy to hear because I feel like that's, you know, everything that I was like searching for too, because that's where I got to a point with elite. I was so defeated, and nobody saw me. Like nobody recognized me. Nobody like. You know, my coaches are just like, what's your deal? And I'm just like, I hate my life and I'm 12. That's normal. That's crazy. And it's like, I literally remember having these adult conversations at 12 and 13. And I'm like, this is your life. It's not my life. Like, this is not who I am. It's not everything I want to be. I don't, you know, lie awake at night being like, I have to make the Olympics. Like, I just wanted to be an elite because I wanted the opportunity to work to maybe make the Olympic team. But I feel like that's being ripped away because I don't have someone that is seeing, and the adult in the room isn't recognizing when the child needs guidance. Yeah. I can't guide myself. I'm 12 years old. Yeah. I still love Hannah Montana. Like, what are we doing? I need an adult to tell me what's going on. Yeah. And that was where, like, those are so good for them because that's just like a duh thing to me because we're the adults. But that's something that, like, my generation, we didn't get. You would be surprised. You were like, oh, you're 12, grow up. Yeah. Figure it out. What do you mean you don't know how? What do you mean? I just got my 12-year-old molars in. That's why I don't know how. My brain's not fully developed. That's why we pay you. Like, help me. You'd be surprised how many adults don't have that.
I know.
You'd be surprised.
I'm learning it on social media. I'm like,
you'd be surprised how many adults are like, you don't have, like, you're not all the way there. Also,
you had too much food coloring as a child. You had too much of that.
Yeah. One of the things that, so I just started in January as in my new position as head coach, right? And like, and one of the biggest things I get from my older athletes, especially, is, "Are you mad at us? Yeah. Are you mad at us? Are you mad at us?" Mad at me? And I didn't understand it at first because nobody's ever asked me that before. The gym that I'd been there for a very long time. Aside from that. So I asked him one day, I'm like, why do you guys keep asking if I'm mad at you? It's like, well, because we don't want you to be mad. And I'm like, but so what if I am mad? Right. Like, so and what
that's
if...
such a boy answer. Who cares? I care.
Yeah, it's like, but I tell them, like, so what if I am mad? I might be mad at you one day, and you might be mad at me one day. Right. I might make you do something, you're like, I didn't like that it felt that way. I didn't like that he made us do 10 instead of 5. I didn't
right.
like, you might be annoyed with me, right? And rather, let me like change my answer real quick on them, right? Which they hate, but you know, I'm actually like never really mad. Like if you're gonna actually prescribe the emotion of anger towards somebody, like I'm not mad at you. I might be annoyed with you. Maybe you're wasting time.
Frustrated.
Yeah, maybe I'm frustrated with you. Maybe I'm annoyed with you. Maybe I asked for 10 vaults in an hour or whatever. I don't know, whatever assignment.
Yeah.
And you don't get it done in the time that it was completely doable to get it done because you're wasting time. I could be annoyed with you, right? But that doesn't necessarily mean that all of a sudden you have to start walking on eggshells,
right?
Because of
well, I think those are just good life lessons that they learn. Because then, you know, in those situations, and I've gotten the same thing too, is I'm like, well, would you be frustrated if someone told you they were going to do something and then they didn't do it? Like, how does that make you feel? Like, I know you were just bickering with, you know, so-and-so, like, they'll get me involved in their drama. Like, you need to settle this argument for us. I'm like, y'all need to learn to do that yourself, you know. But I'll help them and guide them through that stuff. But I'm like, you know, just put me in, you know, put yourself in my position. You know, if I'm asking you guys to do this and you're telling me you want to do this, but you don't do it, well, of course I'm going to be a little frustrated or confused, but I'm not mad. And I tell them, girls, I wore my leotard and I'm very proud of my career. Are you going to be able to say the same? That's up to you. Yeah. I'm here to help you and guide you with all of that. But the difference of anger, I'm like, girls, you would know if I was angry.
Yeah.
You would know if I was angry.
They come up to me and they're
angry with any of you. You're kids. But I'm going to be frustrated.
There's been times where I will go up to somebody and I'm like, hey, I asked you to do this. I need you to do it again. But, you know, and I'm like very stern. And they're like, on a scale of 1 to 10, how was that? And I'm like, that was like a 4, like a 5. Right. And they're like, oh my God, if that's a 4 and a 5, like I can't, I don't want to see your 10. And I'm like, and you probably never will. Right. Because there's actually probably no conceivable, just absent of you maybe punching one of my coaches, I'm probably never going to be like that mad at you ever. Right. Right? Like, because there's really no reason to. At the end of the day, I always go back to this question, like, what's the goal? Yep. And by the time you're level 10, the goals that you have as a level 10 should be crystal clear. Yeah, there
probably is one thing.
Right, like, you know, and if it's not, it'll be crystal clear somewhere else. Yeah. Right, like you can't. I'd be hard pressed to find somebody that's a level 10 gymnast that is just like whoop-de-doo.
Winging it.
Yeah, winging it. Like
that level, you can't just wing it. It's too hard to not like. Yeah. Have to have something you're working for.
You know what's coming. You know what you're capable of. You know what so you're going to have a goal, right? So I always go back to what's the goal. If you end up not listening to me, sure, I might be annoyed with you in the moment. And I might even tell you about it. But I'm not going to like hold it against you the next day. I'm not going to do it.
That's a huge thing.
Right, but like
not holding a grudge. Right. My coaches held grudges. Oh my God, they held a grudge.
But what I do say is, however, say we're working on a bail and you're afraid of the bail. And we've already had the lecture of like, fear is an emotion. You got to learn how to deal with it. Yep. And not let it deal with you, right? And we'll work out it however we must, right? But I am gonna tell you, like, ideally, by this time of the year, we should be pretty solid at it. Yeah. Or else we're going to be in some
timelines are really
like, or else we're going to be in some funky situations.
Yeah, we're gonna be not ready.
And not because of me. It's not like I'm gonna be mad at you. You're just going to feel that in your stomach whenever you're about to go into a meet and you don't have that bell and you know that bars is coming. Like, you're going to feel it. Yeah. So it's not going to be on me.
Or you're just not going to compete. I'm not going to send you out there.
Right. Or, you know, or that. But I always say, if you don't listen to me right now and I'm annoyed with you, I'm not going to hold the grudge. But 6 months from now, 8 months from now, I might remind you of this moment. I might remind you of, say, like, hey, remember that time that I asked for 10 and you only did 5? Well, you did that a total of 20 times up until now. So now you've wasted, you know, 100 tries. Right. That's not on me. Right. I'm not holding a grudge against you. I'm not all of a sudden telling you can't or this and that. Like, I'm not doing that. But we're here now, and you're 100 tries less than what you could have been, per my prescription, right? That's on you. You've got to figure out how to square away with that, because that's not a fight or a conversation that you and I need to have. We don't. I can remind you of it, but it's not something that you have to deal with me. Yeah. I'm a facilitator. I'm gonna get you there. I'm the one prescribing these things, and I will be your representative, your adult representative out there, and I'll make sure that you're safe. And that's my job. I'm gonna do it.
Yeah, we use that analogy all the time, because they get it from a kid's perspective. I'm like, girls, I've saddled you, I've guided you through the forest. Here's this beautiful water. whether you choose to drink it or not. Water. And that's fine. If you don't want to drink the water, I'm okay with that. But do not come to me and say you're thirsty. Go drink the water. I've done everything I can for you, and I will sit here until you drink the water. But what I won't do is force your head in that water.
Yeah, 100%.
I'm not crossing that line because now I got a pissed off horse who still hasn't drank the water. And now I've crossed a bunch of lines. So that's the best analogy I give them, and they get it. They're like, oh, that makes sense. Like
that is great, actually. For them. Yeah. I mean, and I think it works for everybody. It works for adults. It works for, just, you've got to drink the water. Right. You got to go and do the work.
Done everything else.
Yeah.
Just put your little head in there. Sip.